How's everyone? Sorry I'm a little bit late. I'm sure Sniper will be up very shortly.
Lemon.
It is the Esoteric Lounge. Sorry. Tonight we're going to be, well, Sniper's going to be talking about, I'm going to be listening. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Hey, Charlie. Just finished brewing some coffee. Mustafa says, good coffee, especially in cold weather like this. Yep. Hey, Robert. What's up? Miss Flipper, how are you? Mustafa says, Miss Flipper, glad you're around. Hope you're doing well. Me too. Mustafa says, greeting beautiful souls. Glad you made it. Yeah, our temperature is gonna drop here too. We're 65 today, but we're not expecting any snow. But you're much further up north. Hey, Jessica. Jessica says, I love you, Eric. I love you too, Jessica. Thank you so much. How can I be late for my own live stream? I'm a man of mystery and infinite possibilities. How's that for an answer? Hey, Sue, how are you? The Bud Files is here. I'm going to send Sniper the link just to make it a little bit easier for him. There we go. All right, he's going to be celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow. Tiger King loves the answer. Well, good. I appreciate that. I'm consistent in a lot of things in my life. I'm inconsistent in a lot of things in my life too. I am probably consistently late. Hey, Toy Pups. Marlon, how are you? Hey, Daniel. I'm very consistent. I show up every day to meditate twice a day. Consistent in my writing. I never miss a day of writing. Never miss a day of meditation. Never miss a day of breath work. I never miss a day of working out. Last day I missed working out, I believe it was 2004, and I had the flu. Every day. Show up and do something every day. Hey, Kate. Kate, how are you? Katie. I'm sorry. I apologize. So punctual isn't my middle name. It is not. But my middle name does begin with a P. And can anyone guess what it is? On occasion on your live stream, sometimes the door opens and you can hear a voice. Who is that in the background? It is the ghost of Christmas past. Or it might be my brother. With a P. Nope. Two people said Peter. Both are wrong. Charlie said Bobby. No. Charlie says, oh, P. Oops. That's okay. Or Philip. Nope. I like that, though. Eric Philip Marty. I like that. That has a nice ring to it. All right. Miss Flipper nailed it. Eric Punk McCarty. Probably would have been better suited. No, I would have changed it to Philip. Yeah, he's not a public person. He would not even consider doing something like this. Percy. Do people still name their kids Percy nowadays? Not a bad name. Nope. So far, no one's gotten it. Man, how many names begin with a P? To me, it seems like you guys have missed. I'm also C. Charlie says, I hope not, Yogi. Hurts. Pets. Nope. Not even close. Come on, guys. Nope, not Peter. Panhandle. Eric Panhandle. I do like that. Potts. Kenna got it on the second try. No, that was her first try. Charlie said Potts. Eric Potts Bacardi. Surprised someone didn't say Pops. I would have taken that one personally. Look at that. Laura came right in and she nailed it right off the bat. Hey, Sebastian. Eric Paul McCarty. Paul could work. What do you mean Paul could work? It obviously works. That's my name, right? I have a confirmation name too, where you get you are renamed in the church. I'm not going to make you guess. It's Jonathan. So my full name, if I were to be, Catholic, Eric Paul Jonathan McCarty, the 17th. One of my one favorite lady on just Kinect Crafts. Laura's a wonderful person. Always appreciate her being here. Hey, Betty. Betty, how are you? Paul is my dad's name. I should have guessed that. I always liked that my name sort of sounded like Paul McCartney. So we're just waiting for Sniper to show up, and we'll be having the Esoteric Lounge. Hey, Toy Pups. If you cruise through the comments up above, you might see something different. You might see something different if you cruise through the comments. I don't know if you'll notice it or not. You mentioned that before. Tiger King Beatles are overrated. We have to agree to disagree on that. Oh man, did Squirrel lose his keys? I hope not. Greatest band of all times, the Beatles. See anything different yet, Toy Pups? There he is. Sniper, how are you?
Hello. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. How are we doing? Coming through all right?
Sounds good.
Hope everyone's well.
So why are we talking about Mary Magdalene?
I think we need to start uncovering some of the stories that ultimately contradict what the established narrative, what is portrayed if we are to have a critical thinking mind. So, well, these Gospels, I believe, were separated because of the value of what's inside them. But you'll fully understand that when we dive in.
All right, you ready?
I am ready. Is everyone else ready? That is the real question. Right. Here we go. We're going to open up with one of the most intriguing and challenging texts probably ever written or discovered. One of them, anyway, up there in the top 100. But it's the teaching that has been suppressed. And it's the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Now, to truly appreciate the text, we have to look into the context of why it was one of the many documents that it was suppressed by the early centralized church. It was only really rediscovered in 1945 in Egypt. It was literally the end of the Second World War. My nice. So yeah, and it was part of the Nag Hammadi Library, or Hammadi Library, and it was a movement, not a belief, but a gnosis. And a gnosis means knowledge or direct personal experience. Don't forget, knowledge can be perceived. You could be given the wrong knowledge and you perceive it as knowledge. But real knowledge is what you have actually done yourself. You have interpreted if it was done correctly or if it was done wrongly. That is the knowledge and the direct personal spiritual experience. So basically my goal tonight is not to give you all the answers, but to simply just set a little seed of curiosity. By the time we've finished, I'll hope that you look at this world slightly a little bit differently. Or change your perspective of the world a little bit differently. So if you're ready, we'll dive straight in.
Let's do it.
That's my little intro. Has anyone got any questions before we do dive straight in? Maybe.
So yeah. Charlie says, let's do it.
Cool. Well, the esoteric interpretations of the text revolve around gnosis and the role of the individual soul. the individual, the one that is looking. Now, the Gospel of Mary gives us a radical different perspective of 4 key points, right? Now, the first of these key points is about looking inside. Now, the kingdom is inside you. The ultimate message of the gospel is that divine knowledge and salvation is not external. It's internal and it's immediate. Now, this idea forms a very fundamental foundation for Gnosticism. Now, historically, why did Gnosis matter? Well, we need to briefly look at a time when this gospel was written. So that takes us back to the 2nd century. It was a world dominated by hierarchical institutions, rituals. It required priests and temples and adherence to a specific law for salvation. Now, everyone would have been on board with this. There wasn't a yes or no about it. They took it very seriously, and in some countries they still do take it very seriously. And for some of the sins, will cost you your life. Now we'll talk about sins in a little bit, because the Gnosis explains a concept about the sins. But the Gnostics, it means the knowers, or those that offer a radical alternative. They claimed that the church was in fact a barrier between the divine spark that's inside everyone and source, ultimately source. Every human being was a fragment of the source, trapped within a physical world created by a lesser, a flawed power, I should say. Or we adhere to those powers. Now, the discovery of the Nag Hammadi library in 1945, where the Gospel of Mary was found, was a revelation, really, because it brought back the voices that were suppressed from before early Christianity. These were mystical interpretations focusing on direct spiritual experiences. So we have kind of the message from authority, what be it, is that the gospel, it's it states to guard yourself carefully, that no one misleads you by saying, look, there he is, he's over there, you know. For the Son of Humanity already exists inside you. It's not external. So when it comes to the church puts a huge wedge in between what I've just said. It's a dominating factor, which is completely the opposite of the Gnostic teachings. So this is a direct and powerful rejection to the term often used in Gnostic texts is the perfect divine image, or the risen consciousness. It's already inside you, it's just dormant. You don't need to pilgrim to a holy land. You don't need to rely on a specific book or different doctrine to find the absolute truth. It's a shift. It's like a quest, an internal quest, that you will ultimately always find truth if you are on that quest. It is a quest for truth. You're turning the external journey into an inward exploration. And that's a huge difference between a journey and an exploration, because the journey you could have done many times, but an exploration is going to the unknown. And that's where you have the no fear. Whereas on your journey, you are accompanied and adjusted to your own fears. And it becomes part of your journey. Now, the divine is a potentially, it's resident already in our mind and in our hearts. It's completely connected with the two. The risen Christ, as it were, in this context, the risen consciousness, the Christos oil, the awakening state that is the potential to be. It's the true awareness of our original soul. It's the relationship between the divine light and our eventual destiny to return back to that source. Now, instead of following strict rituals, the primary practice becomes almost introspective and like meditation, a quiet turning inwards to perceive that divine reality that's obscured. It's obscured all the noise of the material world and the ego. It's there underneath everything, but with everything that goes on in the material world, it gets forgotten about. And so, the forgetfulness plays a huge part in it. And that comes down to sin as well. Now, the Gnostic path is one of remembering. It's remembering what you already are rather than striving to become something that you're not. And I think everyone has been in that situation. Or they've been told what they should be. Oh, Tiger. So, it's about recognition. When the soul understands you are the light, or you are a part of the light, it suggests that every individual, regardless of their social standings, their bank's balance, their background, we all carry the seed of the highest truth. I would say the only prerequisition for salvation is finding the courage to look within and follow this divine spark. This is where the Gospel of Mary, it remains a deep, liberating and very powerful text even to this day. The second most powerful message in this concerns the path to freedom. It discusses the soul's ascent after death, where each individual must pass beyond 4 or 7. Now, these are the powers or forms that attempt to bind us back to the matter with ignorance. In that surviving little fragment, the powers are explicitly named desire, ignorance, wrath, and darkness. This journey of the soul involves passing external gatekeepers or judgmental figures. The powers are not external demons. They're not cosmic jailers waiting in space for us. They are, in an esoteric interpretation, are inner psychological and spiritual attachments. So it doesn't matter where your belief was when you were alive. Even if you were atheist, there will be 4 attempts by 4 of your loved ones to judge you. The soul must recognize and transcend while it's still alive. That's the key. That's the key to escape the cycle of deceit where we know physically we are not from here. We are only visiting, yet it is a perpetual energy loop. But that's only because it's been created like this. The physical depth described in the text is actually a metaphor for the spiritual awakening. And the subsequent journey to the true self. When a soul passes these powers or forms, it's not a battle. It's not a fight with an external enemy. It's actually an engagement in the knowledge of own recognition. Now, each power challenges the soul as it's ascending. The only thing that grants passage is the soul's perfect knowledge of its own true origin and nature and its realization that these powers have no true authority over it. The soul successfully declares, "What binds me has been slain, and what surrounds me has been overcome. My desire has been ended, and my ignorance have died. The key word there is slain. It's the binding force that's destroyed by the illumination of the gnosis. It's an incredible framework for psychological self-recognition, self-analysis. Freedom's only achieved when the soul recognizes, I am not my anger, I am the observer of my anger. So we'll break these four powers down. They were desire, now this does not need to be a physical lust. It's about a compulsive longing and attachment. It's the attachments to the material world. It's about possessing and controlling. When the soul encounters desire, it must declare its freedom from the tyranny of wanting. If a person's life is defined by the endless pursuits of things, I don't know, watches, the latest iPhone, all the new fads, they're still a slave to the power of desire. Now, to transcend desire, you have to find the power to cultivate the non-attachments and to enjoy the ability of accepting the world without owning it. Now, second is ignorance. This is the most critical binding agent in all of the Gnostic texts. Or I should say, it's the lack of Gnostic. It's the failure to know one's own divine origin. And this is the forgetting. This ignorance is the root of all known suffering. It causes the soul to believe it is only of the physical body. And therefore a temporary ego. Therefore it's subject to decay and death. The only way to defeat this is through remembrance, which brings us back to gnosis and realization. This brings us on to wrath. Anger and fury. We've all had it. This is the psychological mechanism of rejection and defenselessness. Wrath keeps the soul bound by external reactions. Most importantly, every reaction is an external one. When we allow our peace to be dictated by the actions of others or by events outside of our control, we're feeding this power of wrath. Now, transcending wrath involves inner equanimity. That's a state of a psychological stability, composure, especially when you're under stress. It's a mental calmness, evenness, as it were, an evenness of temper. Now, recognizing that external events cannot shake the internal peace is the way to transcend wrath. Realize it's only from the outside. Lastly, the darkness. This is the final and most encompassing of all the powers. It represents the oblivion and the material forgetfulness. It's the composite of the state of being lost in the pure phenomenal world. It's devoid of any spiritual light or awareness. To overcome the darkness means achieving constant awareness. That's what's the forgetfulness. Just forgetting for 1 second, you are not aware, which allows the darkness in. It's the state of spiritual presence where one is no longer operating on an autopilot driven by conditional responses. which is all attached to the ego. External. Now, the gospel teaches the inner power. It aligns beautifully with many of the later esoteric and psychological systems like Carl Jung. He discusses the necessity to confront your shadow self, the unconsciousness aspect of the personality that we repress deep down. Now, the Gnostic powers on the shadow self, they say the path of the soul it's the path of dissidental dissidentification, I think it's actually called. It's connected with our cognitive dissident. Now, for instance, when wrath attacks the soul doesn't fight back. It certainly doesn't fight back with more wrath. Instead, it answers with knowledge. You recognize that wrath is external, for you are not wrath. Wrath is a shadow, and you are the light. This response is a statement of identity and not a confirmation to awareness. Now, the Gospel of Mary, it encourages us to see that these powers, the liberation that comes from them, knowing that only true self has no need for the external psychological aspects of being told what should be, when ultimately we need to experience them for ourselves, going through the fire. Salvation isn't. It's not found in currency. It's not found in fiat. It's earned by the soul's investment and internal works throughout its life here in the material realm, working on the spiritual. It needs to shred the layers of attachments, reactions, because we're very good to react. We're oh so quick to react sometimes.
True. You want to answer a few questions?
Yeah,
Several people have
they're queuing up.
there was a question. It's already pinned asked earlier by
Yeah.
Miss Flipper. Can you see it?
Yeah. How would you describe wholeness according to the Gnostics? Wholeness in its sense is no longer chaos. Chaos comes out of wholeness. It is all there is and all that there will be.
I have a question for you.
Mm.
According to some sources, not every scholar considers the Gospel of Mary to be a Gnostic text.
Yeah. That it's it's because the distance between Egypt and where this was all supposedly, you know, I think what we're seeing is the controlled opposition playing its best part of those that were on the inside in Greece that were feeding the informations back to the church. I don't really want to go into it too much,
Right.
but yes, there has always been counter operators that have been purposely put there to discriminate and devalue a certain piece of information. It's how it it if it if it's a resonating frequency that you keep coming back to, then to me that's a knowing until I know something else.
Right. Hey, Evan wants to know if you could give a like a brief synopsis
Of the entire book.
Well, he didn't quite follow the conversation.
Okay.
So from what we've talked about so far, from what you've covered,
Okay. So, from what we've covered, the reason why this gospel was not, or it will become clear in the next bit of text that I've got.
Okay. You want to
And
dive back in then?
you can do in a second, but yeah, just for a quick synopsis, is that these texts allow an individual to see the different message from what the church was also trying to represent. Why did they blow the nose off the Sphinx? That's a great question, but the Sphinx wasn't originally the Sphinx. The Sphinx originally was Anubis. And what church? Well, it was the Roman Catholic that took hold of pretty much early Christianity and put a stamp on the Gnostics and the Hermetic teaching. They were quite serious about any other information coming out other than their own. Yes, absolutely, Evan. The reason why the church never put these in, because it contradicts everything the church is saying.
Some consider
Now,
Mary to be. Sorry, go ahead.
These were actually written in the 2nd century, and that you find out when the KJV was written. You know, it was a few years after that. It's a lost gospel, yes, admittedly. So if we dive back in, oh, is there any more questions?
Real quick.
Something about skydiving.
Many people consider Mary to be a teacher equal to Jesus himself.
Yes, well, you've just sold on my last line.
Let's get back in. Let's hop in.
Let's hop back in. Right, well, we've got to go back to the realization that the chains are internal, right? Oh, Harjit's just got a question. Shoot.
But tell you what, dive in, and I'll hold out my finger when the question comes up.
Okay, when it comes up. All right. So we need to refine this word sin. Okay. It's, as I said before, ignorance. It's not evil. Now, some people are going to find that really hard to come up with. But the third radical principle or the concept presented in the gospel is how to redefine sin. Now, the concept fundamentally challenges the ethical and moral framework for the religious, which is presenting sin as a willful violation of external divine law. Now, the radical interpretation of sin is that there is no sin. But it is you who makes the sin when you do the things that are like the nature of adultery, which is called sin. Sin as such does not exist. you only bring it into manifestation when you act in the ways. Now, this statement focuses, it shifts the religious teachings from obedience to knowledge. In the traditional view, sin is a debt that's owed. It's owed to an external judge. But in the Gnostic view, it's a state of forgetfulness. State that causes you to act out of alignment with your own true divine nature. So the key word there is adultery. Now, of course, when you hear this word, we typically think of a marital infidelity. But this is the esoteric side of the spiritual. And spiritual adultery means separation and blurring of the boundaries. So what is separation? Separation of the divine spirit from its source. And instead, it's forming an illicit disorder attached to the material or the transcendent, the brief passing moment. We forget that it's eternal, and we choose the passing moment. It's a forgetfulness, a mistake. So therefore, sin isn't a moral scorecard of like good deeds versus bad deeds. It's a lack of integration. A spiritual error caused by ignorance. The soul acts in adulterous ways when it mistakes the physical world, the ego, and desires for it to be a true reality. Therefore, it disrupts the true nature and order and the unified relationship with the divine. To understand the Gnostic use of adultery, we have to look at the concept of spiritual dualism. We have the light versus the dark. We have the spiritual versus matter. We have the truth versus the falsehood. Spiritual adultery is the act of treating these distinct realms as if they're one, or allowing the lower material to dominate the higher, the spiritual. For examples, confused identity. When you believe your value is defined by your bank statement or your career title or your physical appearance, you are allowing the temporary material form matter to define your external soul, which is your spirit. You end up blurring the boundaries of who you are and what you possess. You could mistake the map for the territory. Relying on sacred dogma, rituals, institutions, rules, as the actual spiritual reality rather than a mere guide or a pointer. This is like an attachment to the form instead of just having the essence. You know, you live through it like, as I say, the test of fire every day without forgetting. This brings us to the emotional attachments. Having emotional attachments allows the power of wrath or desire to control your actions, your matter, your ego. The Gospel of Mary, it liberates the seeker from their own guilt and fear associated with the traditional sin. It substitutes a heavy weight of a moral failure with something more empowering and the possibility of a spiritual awakening. The call is not to be good, but rather know thyself, and your actions will follow. So the final key to this is probably the most, arguably, is the elevation of Mary. Now this basically puts the whole context into play. In the gospel that bears her name, Mary is presented as the primary apostle. the one who truly understands the most secret teachings. Her prominence points to a crucial esoteric teaching. It's the importance of the sacred feminine and the authority of intuition. And it's the authority over the rigid institutional structure. It's classed as Mary the apostles to the apostles. The gospel depicts a startling scene right after Jesus has departed. The disciples are distraught and very fearful. Mary steps forwards and comforts and instructs them all. She recounts the secret teachings given to her in private. Teachings about the soul ascent and the real nature of reality. The key moment is when the male disciples, Peter and Andrew, they openly challenge her authority. Peter said, "Did Jesus really speak with a woman in private without our knowing it? Did he choose her over us?" Andrew seconds the statement by saying that Mary's teachings are very strange ideas. Now, the allegory of this conflict is that Peter and Andrew both represent the institutional structures, the emerging church structure. St. Peter's, St. Andrew's. They were focusing on who was chosen first. Mary represents the personal revelation, the intuition, the mystical interpretations that speak from direct experience. Mary's defense was provided by Levi, who tells Peter, "You are always ready to give way to your perpetual inclination to anger. If Jesus made her worthy, who are you to reject her?" This defense esoterically affirms the validation of Mary's Gnostic knowledge over Peter's institutional representations. Now, the authority of institutions today the message has immense relevance in our modern world, which is overwhelmingly driven by external validations, the data, linear logic. We're consistently pressured to trust the experts, the institutes, or the algorithm over our own inner knowing. The Gospel of Mary's challenge is to recognize the authority of our own intuition. When a teaching or a doctrine doesn't resonate with you or doesn't carry the divine spark within it, Mary's Gospel gives you the spiritual permission to question it. It empowers us to trust the internal voice of wisdom, Sophia, over the external voice of the institution, which was Peter. This is why the inclusion of the Mary Magdalene is so vital to esoteric traditions. She's the archetype of the independent seeker who achieved enlightenment through direct communion, not through hierarchy or obedience. She's the ultimate proof that personal revelation triumphs spiritual, triumphs church structures. Mary's evolution in this gospel is a very powerful symbolic act. It restores the balance between the masculine and the feminine, the principles on a spiritual path, asserting only true matter, the wisdom, the gnosis, cultivated within the heart and mind of the individual. Now, if you're going to take any principles away from this tonight, here are the four: that the divine is inside of you. It's not external. That the obstacles to freedom are our inner attachments. They are not external demons. We stop ourselves. Remember that sin is ultimately ignorance. It's not a moral violation. And remember that the intuitive wisdom is the sacred feminine. And I think the sacred feminine is the true path to authority. each of these 4 points redirects the spiritual search from an outside world of rules, institutions, and it takes you innermost to the world of self-knowledge, where it is the start of your exploration. And there we have it.
All right,
There
guys.
you go. Sin is ignorance, indeed.
Questions here?
Yeah.
Let me say a quick hi to Miss Joan, Stinkbug's grandmother, who is watching. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good night. And by the way, have whatever you guys do, have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yes, we don't have it over here in the UK, but we too tend to make a good thing of it for you. We have a similar kind of thing a month before. It's like a harvest festival, which we kind of used to get together. Not so much these days now, but it was especially in smaller villages. The towns, the villages would get together, and each would put something forward. It could have been anything that you've grown throughout the year, and you'll have a nice sit-down meal and just share everything that everyone's brought. You know, bring a bottle.
Nice.
Yeah, I suppose you could call that as Thanksgiving because it's the end of the year. You're reaping what you sow.
I forget who had said in the chat earlier. So if there's no sin, there's no need to forgiveness, which is an excellent point.
Yeah.
It's the whole nature of A Course in Miracles.
Indeed. Yeah. But then, you know, having the foresight and not being so forgetful, we wouldn't be creating sin.
My answer was that there's the perception of sin, and as long as it's the perception of sin, then forgiveness acts as a tool to help us see through the perception to reality.
Yeah. We can perceive we can perceive the forgiveness.
So, if you don't mind, Christianity had the Gospel of Mary not been, notice the ear quotes, had not been lost. Christianity today, with the inclusion of Gospel of Mary, where would Christianity be? Where would we be, do you think?
There wouldn't be any churches. Now imagine a religion without a church or without a book or without specific rules. We already know the rules inside of us. Oh, thanks, Shirley.
Thank you, Shirley.
Give that a little. There you go. Yeah, that's a deep question. Where would we be? Of course, it would have affected every other religion. And that is that'd be worth thinking about.
It is. Man, imagine a Christianity with more than a streak. Imagine Christianity with almost a Taoist blending of sacred masculinity and sacred femininity together. What we would have. Jesus as a contemporary of Mary, and not Mary being subservient, if even mentioned at all,
Yeah, she's never mentioned. She's one line, and then
and
that's cast aside.
sort of hinted that she was a prostitute.
Yep. Which is the furthest you could possibly put someone if you wanted to hide someone.
So you couldn't just have a woman with equal power to Jesus. You couldn't have a woman with Christ. She had to be degraded. She had to be
subservient.
Asat says working girl, I believe, is the correct term, Yogi. Thank you, Asat. I stand corrected. What a
Book of
shame.
Enoch. Yeah, that's another one to go down.
Here's what I wonder. Hey, Ball Striker. Our friend Ball Striker has a bit of a different view.
Yes, of course he would do.
That was Miss Pippa says that was Pope Gregory the Dork. Is that his official name? Pope Gregory the Dork?
Yeah, quite possibly. It might be the hat that puts it away. You can call them all dorks. Well, there's a fish hat. We won't go into the fish hat, but yes, there is the fish hat there. The Pope wears a fish hat.
Possibly Pope that maybe Gregory was a bit what's the word I'm looking for? Says he had women with he had problem with women being his bonnet, says Miss Flipper. Perhaps repressed in his sexuality a bit, maybe.
I would have thought so. Yes, quite so. But you know, when even going back to the Crusades, you know, the Crusades was a whole land grabbing opportunity from the church. It sent out all of its barons. It sent out pretty much 80% of the male workforce here in the UK and in France and in Germany. And at the same time, they put taxes up. Now, when the male forces are away fighting, they ended up losing their lands. And the wives of the soldiers that had gone away were taken into the the safety of the nunneries. And to this day, a nun lives in a cell. He sleeps in a cell. And you wonder why there was lots of nuns at one point.
What do you think? Is it too late for to introduce any bit of the sacred feminine into modern Christian tradition, or is everything going to have to fall apart before
It's all
there's a
going to fall apart.
reemergence?
It has to fall apart. It has to.
I wonder if they allowed women priests in the Catholic Church and gave more prominence to women who are ministers and reverends.
Yeah, they have done that, yet they're still contradicting themselves. You know, it's
Parajat has a question.
Mm.
Ask away, my friend. We got about maybe 5 more minutes and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You were
Yeah,
like right on point with the
Fine one.
Yep. Like you couldn't have planned it any better. You know, there's Corinne last Friday talked about, obviously, Course in Miracles is written in Christian language and it has a slanted masculine voice. But
Yeah, you got to see through that.
Yeah.
What's the question? I can't see it.
Welcome back, Bloom.
Everything I put together sooner or later falls apart.
So I think she's referencing that sooner or later the church will be rebuilt. Well, maybe not. Maybe they won't rebuild it. Does it need to be rebuilt?
Well, the church built on top of an old structure. You know, they stamped their authority on the Druids. They ensured that the Druid lineage assimilated into the Christianity.
How about that for a conversation?
Mm. But then,
ancient esoteric tradition that have become part of Christianity as we know it without even knowing.
exactly.
You should do a Christmas talk.
We could do we could blow Christmas completely apart, but I don't really want to. Hi, Indy.
Here's the question. Hey, Hole. One love, beautiful souls. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.
In the last session, I asked how our 5 senses can work in favor or against us. So I want to ask, what's the role of temptation in the spiritual process? Well, temptation is, I suppose, your expectations of what there is to come in looking for a revelation. It's the tempting of truth. It's not the, you already know the sins. For me, the tempting is the knowledge that is the gnosis that is outstanding. It's there ready waiting for us. That's what is tempting in the spiritual way. It's not in the sinful way. That's the materialistic, not in the spiritual. It's almost completely flipped 180, which is pretty much how I perceive this reality anyway. Whatever someone in the mainstream says can think the complete opposite, and you're pretty much on the ball.
Bloom, I think
So,
Puppy Mommy left. I think she's getting ready to start her live stream, Bloom. Tiger King wants to know when you put up your Christmas tree.
Friday.
Oh.
I'll be cutting it on. Where are we? I'll be cutting. I might go down tomorrow night and cut it. Otherwise, yeah, I'll cut it Friday morning. And I stand it in water for 24 hours. Or lemonade, actually. Lemonade. Oh, Polo. You got Monkey as well. Right. Star or angel? Well, that is a good one. I have got an angel, and my daughter normally puts it up on top, but she's getting so big now. It's probably going to be the first year I'm not going to be lifting her up. I'll get the ladders for her.
Nice. Hey, Falcon.
Yeah, that's always a good part of the putting the angel on the top of the Christmas tree, turning the lights on, releasing the cats into the lounge. They do like a new tree in the house.
I bet.
Yeah.
What about Cosmo?
Yeah, he absolutely loves wrapping paper, so he's waiting for Christmas morning. I could just put all the empty wrappers next to him, and he'll just sit there for an hour like a little shredder. Just shred all the wrapping paper.
All right, guys. So I think we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
Miss Flipper says she loved everything about this this chat.
It takes a while to drop the G in gnosis.
Easier to say Gnostic for me.
Yeah. Gnosticism.
Right. It's a deep subject.
It is. It's deep, and it's probably never ending, as everything is connected.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks,
Be
Anna.
interesting sometime to dive into connection between A Course in Miracles and Gnostic texts or
Yeah.
Gnosticism. Be very interesting.
Yes, it would be actually to do a side by side,
Mhm.
and then we could, actually see how it transcends together.
If I can find a online Gary Renard, course writer, he wrote The Spirits of the Universe, which has been a very important book for a lot of course students to help them
Yeah.
understand what can be seen as a difficult text. He gave a version of the Gospel of St. Thomas that is seen through the lens of Course in Miracles. Let's see if I can find it for you.
Nice. Well, maybe I should do the Thomas next. That's always been a very interesting one for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Thanks everyone for turning up and at least give me an ear. My hair's grown again.
It is, for sure. A couple people made comments. I think it was Evan said that you need to get a pair of Oakley sunglasses.
Yeah. I don't know why. I wouldn't be able to see through them anyway. Right.
Miss Flipper said real quick, Rob Wapnick's Love Does Not Condemn outlines Gnostic similarities. Interesting. Ken Wapnick was probably my favorite course teacher.
Yeah. Worth looking into. I'm going to jump in the chat quickly.
All right. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. I'll wait until you get there. All right, guys. Miss Flipper, I'll see if I can find a used copy on Amazon. So for guys in the States, have a good Thanksgiving. For anyone traveling, go on dinner for, visit family. Safe travels. As we say in Maryland, drive gently. I don't know why we say that in Maryland, but I like it. I always like it. We did Mary Magdalene this evening. Estat, or I'm sorry, Falcon. Oh, thank you so much for being here. All right. We're done for the day. Tiger King says past midnight. It's only going on 7:30, but that's late for me. I'll be in bed in just a little bit. Falcon says, oh, dang, well, there you go. You can watch the replay, or as Toy Pups pointed out, you can get a recap on somewhere. There's a little AI button that you can clip, and it gives you a recap of the live stream. Bloom says, can I join? Well, Bloom, I'm going to bed, but you can definitely join sometime. Now it is just about my bedtime. I go to bed early. I'm up early. Hey, let me know if you do that. I haven't done the AI before. I'd be interested in what you guys think. Thanks, Tiger King. Appreciate it. Yep, Toy Pups says, no Bloom, it's over, honey, but Toy Pups is getting ready to go live. So, guys, head on over, hang out with Toy Pups. She always has surprises for people. Guys, if you like your little emoji as a member, this was designed by our friend Willow and Marlon. And the reason why we have emojis in the chat is because of the hard work that Toy Pups has done with me and for me. Probably the hardest thing was, one, teaching me how to do it, and two, convincing me to actually do it. Be kind, Tiger King. Bye, Parajat. All right, Parajat. We can talk more about temptation sometime too if you want. All right, guys. I love you. Take care.